decision making.
Oh, we certainly have.
You know, David, when you go into places, and I guess in family businesses, you're dealing with people coming up through the family. Dad's been used to making decisions, whether he's just learnt it himself, but the young people stepping in. What do you two think is some of the best advice you can give to the young people stepping into these leadership roles in how to make decisions? What do you chat to them about to give them the confidence or the techniques?
Techniques. In a lot of cases, I find that the younger generation are still learning how to deal with their parents, how to ask questions in a way that they're not being intimidated, that they're not intimidating their parents because they know everything already. The younger generation is in charge of the internet. So it's a communication issue that we need to get a little bit more on top of. Once we can communicate a bit better, then we can start asking the questions and learning how to make those decisions.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
I don't think the nitty-gritty is about the young people.
Oh.
I think the nitty-gritty is about the older people. And they need to be shown / taught / encouraged to be a mentor to the younger people. So that they teach the younger people not only how to make the right decision or how to make a decision, but in many ways, more importantly, how to make the right decision for that family business. And so the best thing you can teach wise old owl grandfather or father or mother is for them to involve the younger people in the decision making and simply say to them, okay, Peter, hypothetically the son, what do you think we should do?
I'll partially agree with you, David. And the reason I say partially is because in an earlier presentation we talk about biases.
Yes.
And parents will typically have biases about their children. So when we do look for mentors in business, mentors, coaches, sometimes it's good to get somebody from outside the family to do the mentoring. If we're using parents to mentor children, that's kind of parenting in a lot of cases, especially when you've got a parent who's done this and grown a business to a particular size. And they've got all of their answers from their past experience. But everything's changing. Change is happening all the time. And the younger people are learning to make decisions in a different way that their parents will have made decisions.
So I don't disagree with you, but I'll disagree with you. And you're absolutely right, except the line I was taking was teaching Peter the right decisions for this business. And so if I go back to my example, I would be saying, okay, Peter, well, here's the decision we're faced with. What do you think we should do? Now, Peter's got several options. One is he'll come up with the right decision that mum or dad agree with. Mm-hmm. That's fine. He might come up with the wrong decision. And they may say in their mentoring role about the decisions for the business, they say, okay, what about so-and-so? It might be something like, what about the unions? It might be something about, well, what about the HR policy or the Fair Work Act that doesn't allow us to do that, which Peter hasn't known about or considered but now learns. Or here's the real learning for everyone. Peter might come up with an out-of-the-box decision. Now this is where mum and dad need to learn to say 2 words, that's interesting, so that they don't apply the bias that you referred to and just say no. They need to say, oh, well, that's interesting, because in our hypothetical, who's going to end up growing this business? It's going to be Peter, isn't it?
The intention might be for Peter.
But in
this instance,
in the hypothetical construct that I have in my mind, Peter's the one who's going to take over. So it's going to be Peter that's going to have to deal with the changes to the economy, to the business, to the marketplace, to everything. And so Peter is a younger person, and again, in my hypothetical construct, probably is in touch with technology a little bit more than mum and dad, and may see things that mum and dad don't even know exist. That's why they need to say, that's interesting, and then consider
In my practical experience, that happens quite often.
Yeah.
The parents don't understand.
One thing you guys just said then when you were talking, when you talked about change, John, they've got to adapt to a change, and you said about growing the business. How important is it that when a young person is coming in, mum and dad say to them, okay, you've made that decision, but show me how it reflects as a family, especially in family values, show me how that decision reflects our family values, and show me how it goes towards achieving the company purpose. Do you think educating the young ones as they step through to analyse decisions in that light is just as important as the financial lights that's come up?
Well, I think you're making an assumption there. When you say show me how, I think the assumption is that they know how to show their parents how. They might not know how. So it comes back to, in the previous video, we talked about the three things. People either don't know what to do, or they don't know how to do it. That's what we're talking about here, or something someone gets in the way. So they might not be able to answer that question. They might have an MBA, but they might not know how to answer that question. Show me how this decision reflects our company's values, because that's a really difficult question to answer if you don't talk the language of values.
If you haven't articulated values, both from a family perspective and from a business perspective.
Exactly.
And is this why you're very strong on let the older generation become the mentors, so they can draw that and embed that knowledge into some of the, basically we step out of school, we haven't really got it, have we, when we first get not many.
Well, the short answer to the question is yes, but in my experience, the older person who is the wise owl, which I'm calling a mentor, who has as his or her very being the mission to teach the new person and give that person wisdom. It's easy to give people knowledge. What's hard to do is give wisdom. So in my experience, the older person that understands that is actually quite rare. They may have the intention, but they don't know how. But what they have to do, that's why I went at the very beginning, I said, you need to throw the question, what do you think? I mean, how did you learn to ride a bike? The most effective thing in learning how to ride a bike was when you fell off.
Yes.
So you then have to maybe let them make some mistakes. Maybe. Now, obviously there's some areas where it's a no-go zone, you don't make mistakes. But there's plenty of other areas where it may be, okay, that's an interesting marketing tool. Let's try it and see what happens.
It's an interesting suggestion that you make, because I do discuss this with families that are in business about generationing, the younger generation coming in. Do they work inside the business? Do they work outside the business? Learn about things outside, make a few mistakes outside, see what the real world is like as a perspective for them. Maybe get a little bit of self-esteem if they get a promotion or two from wherever they're working, and then they choose to come back to the family business. And
well, I'm hearing from both of you that you're both saying you need to give them permission to fail, but you need to encourage them to have a go, not stop trying.
Listen to them, yeah. And then sit down and have an intelligent adult conversation at the end about what happened. That's where the wisdom comes from. The wisdom doesn't just, you can't give someone wisdom. They have to experience the issues from which they draw wisdom.
From that conversation, everybody involved in the conversation is learning.
And that's the crucial thing. The older people need to understand that they are as much learners as the younger person.
That's a beautiful way to finish. Thank you very much, David. This has been John Bruns, a Family Business Guy. Don't forget, subscribe to my channel, John Bruns, a Family Business Guy, on YouTube. Thanks very much, and we'll see you again.